Now let me ask you a question. Are you planning a trip to the United States? Or are you looking to apply for a visa? Then get ready to be disappointed because you may end up crossing calendars. Here's why. In India, the average waiting time for a visitor visa to the United States is now 800 days. 800 days. That's more than 2 years. Meaning, if you apply for a visa this month, you may not get an appointment until 2024. Let me break it down further. It gets worse. According to the US State Department website, if you're booking a visa appointment from the US Embassy in New Delhi, you may have to wait 833 days for a visitor visa. If you're applying for a student or exchange visitor visa, you will have to wait 430 days. And for all other non-immigrant visas, the waiting period is 390 calendar days. It's the same story in other cities as well. If you're booking an appointment at the US consulate in Hyderabad, for instance, you'll have to wait 582 calendar days for a visitor visa, 430 calendar days for a student visa, and 219 days for other non-immigrant visas. In Mumbai, the situation is no better. The waiting time for a visitor visa is 848 days. For a student visa, 430 days and 392 days for other non-immigrant visas. It's a pattern. It's a visa nightmare, to be honest. No matter which Indian city you live in, you'll have to wait till 2024 to get a visa. Naturally, this has put a lot of Indians in a fix, students especially, the ones wishing to study in American universities. They're confused if they should wait for their slot or simply consider studying in another country. So who's to blame for this dilemma? Why can their visas not get processed immediately or at least faster? Why is it taking US embassies and consulates so very long? And the answer to all these three questions is the pandemic. It has created massive backlogs at the embassies. You see, when the pandemic hit us, the lockdowns began and travel got restricted. Most of these embassies ceased operations. They stopped assessing the applications. Forget approving them. 2 years on. This has led to a high volume of pending applications, a limited availability of appointments, and stretched visa processing timelines. Some countries have also tightened their rules for granting visas. Their process now involves more checks, like verification of vaccination certificates. All of this explains this logjam. But the question is, what's the solution? Analysts say there is none. Besides waiting for the backlog to clear, that is what experts say. But in the age of technology, where everything is digitized, especially in the developed world, visa backlogs, that too, at American embassies, it sounds appalling to say the least. What's even more appalling is that other countries face no such problem. Take the case of China. In its capital, Beijing, the waiting time for a visitor visa is just 2 days. 2 days for a student visa and 3 days for other non-immigrant visas. And why just Beijing? Even in Shanghai and Guangzhou, you won't have to wait for more than a week for a visitor or a student visa. Naturally, this begs some uncomfortable questions. Why do Indians have to wait for 2 years for a US visa? But the Chinese get it in a matter of days. Why this disparity? It's a question the US State Department ought to answer, and quickly. India is already pursuing the matter. It is pushing America to clear the jam. At a recent press conference in Washington, India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar raised the issue of visas, reminding America about the damage it was doing to people-to-people ties. He said this in presence of US State Secretary Antony Blinken. Listen to this.
On mobility, specifically visas, this is particularly crucial given its centrality to education, business, technology, and family reunions. There have been some challenges of late, and I flag it to Secretary Blinken and his team, and I have every confidence that they will look at some of these problems seriously and positively.
So did Blinken respond to India's concerns? Yes, he did. He said he was extremely sensitive about the matter and has readied a plan specifically for India. A plan that will play out in the coming months. Take a look.
We have a plan when it comes to India to address the backlog of visas that's built up. I think you'll see that play out in the coming months, but it's something that we're very focused on. These connections, these people-to-people ties, whether it's students, whether it's business people, whether it's tourists, whether it's family, this is what really links us together, and the last thing we want to do is make that any more difficult.
So India has flagged its concerns. America has decided to address them. Here's hoping the issue is resolved soon. And we get some important answers as to why people in China, which happens to be a sworn enemy of the United States, are getting their visas immediately. But people from India, which is a close strategic ally for America, are not. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.